All right, I believe we are live. What is up? Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. Sorry, happy Valentine's Day, that's what day it is. Oh yeah, take it easy. So it might be beneficial to turn my camera around. That makes sense. There you go. All right. Well, hello to anyone who's in here. I want to do an Ask Me Anything. So fire away with any questions. Let me know what's up in the chat. I haven't done one of these in a while, so hello. Got a lot to talk about myself, but I definitely want to interact with you guys and say what's up. Get some opinions. Want to see if any of you guys have watched the interview I did with my friend Kayvon. If you did, you were most likely enlightened quite a bit by all the knowledge he contains and then omitted in our interview about the Middle East and what's going on in Iran, Persian history, Persian culture. But definitely say what's up in the chat if anyone is here. I would like to hear your voice. I would like to hear what you say. I would like to hear it. I am from vaguely somewhere maybe Slavic, but not Russia. Somewhere in the maybe the Caucasus or the Baltic states somewhere. Where do you think I am from with this accent? I don't know. I do not know. I do not know. I'm gonna wait for some more people to get up in this. Make sure to leave comments. Let me know what's going on with you. Here we go. So silly. What a long week. What a long week. So this might not have been the perfect time to do this. Seems like some of y'all are busy. Some of you guys are on special Valentine's Day dates. and engagements, buying lots of chocolate, reading cards to each other, whispering sweet nothings. I don't give a shit. It's a manufactured holiday created by the man, okay? Valentine's Day was created by big flowers, okay? And the people at the top 1% of 1% of big Hallmark. And, just the oppressive structures forcing us to tell each other that we love each other and so on. When really, it's just designed to make single people depressed. People like me, well, I won't have it. I won't take it. I'm not buying Hallmark, okay? Hey, Hershey's, leave your shitty chocolate alone. I'm a Godiva girl. Cool, this is going well. Well, if you've made it this far, and you're watching this after it's happened live, you might want to reconsider where you're at in life, just in general. You just spent 5.5 minutes, and you'll never get it back. These are facts. These are facts. Well, things have been good so far. I really enjoyed doing the interview with Kayvon. It was a while coming, and finally we got that done. I learned a lot about Persian history. I learned a lot about the role Islam plays in the Middle East, and how it's essentially dominated an entire subcontinent. Countries have been created because of it, Pakistan being one of them. Pretty wild stuff. But I learned more about how Zoroastrianism and basically Islam less, and Iran and Persia and that geographical location without Islam predates the Islamic version of it by quite a bit, or at least civilizations and culture that were thriving in that part of the world beforehand, which is not something I knew growing up. I had a very finite view of that part of the world, and I thought, oh yeah, Islam, it's just as old as Christianity, it's just as old as Judaism, it's just as old as Buddhism, it's part of that part of the world and has been for so long. Nope, not the case. Not the case. We talked about how there's real cultural appropriation that's taken place over decades and centuries in that part of the world. Not the cultural appropriation of, a white guy with dreadlocks or whatever. Something quite a bit deeper rooted there, where there were many accolades and triumphs made by Persians that many people in modern times, especially Western leftist academics and also Islamist theocrats and Islamic scholars will claim were part of the Islamic Golden Age, which you can debate the rhetoric all you want. You can debate the semantics of what you label that part of that part of history, but the idea that some of these innovations and inventions and triumphs in algebra or what have you were somehow influenced by Islam, the doctrine, I find to be frankly absurd. It's like, do you think certain religions influenced other great thinkers and minds to create what they did? I'm sure that there are plenty of instances where that's the case, but go ahead and do me a favor and tell me what the Islamic Golden Age produced, and then let's connect that to Islam, the doctrine, as though it wasn't just removed. It's like it just reminds me of when some people talk about how there were atheist, there were crimes and genocide committed in the name of atheism. Well, there is no name of atheism. Atheism is nothing. Atheism is the absence of something. I know I quote Sam Harris all the time, but he makes a lot of great points, and one of those points being that atheism is, we don't have a word for we don't call people non-astronomers. I don't know. Pretty interesting. Hold on one second, guys. Well, it seems like this live stream is going much like my love life. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. So, I guess in the meantime, if anyone's watching this post facto, I'll go ahead and plug some up-and-coming videos. I just filmed today just a little snippet of me talking about artificial intelligence and how leaders of the world are sort of coming together to talk about how this surge in emerging technology in the artificial intelligence realm will influence the future politically, sociologically, and economically. So I'm pretty excited to release some of the footage that I compiled about the subject. As you guys may know, I'm super interested in artificial intelligence. Yeah, I also talk about what happened at the Olympics in South Korea with Mike Pence and this sister of Kim Jong-un. CNN tweeted something out where they said that that she stole the limelight, basically. I'll have to look up what CNN said again, but some of this bickering that goes on, some of the leftist media will go to any extent to bash anyone involved with the Trump administration for the most part. Yeah. So CNN posted a photo of Kim Jong-un's sister saying Kim Jong-un's sister is stealing the show at the Winter Olympics. And then in the article, they mentioned that some people consider her to be the Ivanka Trump of North Korea, and it blows my mind that they'll go as far to toss that in there to try and do anything to make the Trump administration look bad, even where criticism isn't due, especially where criticism isn't due. So, some of these, some retweets about that are CNN, quote, "She's North Korea's Ivanka Trump. If Ivanka Trump oversaw prison labor camps, tortured and starved citizens, and ordered a few hundred executions, sure, totally." Just unbelievable. Unbelievable, the media. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. We could be talking about policy. We could be talking about what's actually happening in North Korea. We could be talking about all sorts of different things, yet CNN wants us to talk about that? What the fuck? How about we talk about some policy? How about we don't even mix that in there? So I'm excited to release this little video that I did just chatting about that, and I have some plans coming up for the next couple weeks. I am very interested in going around and getting New Yorkers' perspective on the Trump administration, politics in this country, and politics abroad, of course. So I'm going up to Harlem to get the Harlem residents' opinion about Trump in the White House and specifically his stance towards African Americans. And I have heard many people criticizing Trump in regards to it somehow a correlation with African Americans. And I know that there have been specific instances cited, for example, the Central Park Five back in the day. I think it was his real estate company or his father's real estate company's willingness to rent to blacks, and I think there's been some debunking there for the most part. There's more research than I need to do, but I'd like to go up there and talk to African Americans, get their opinions, and look for some valid criticisms and see if I can find any. So I'm excited about that. Anyone here, go ahead and leave a comment and say what's up. This is an Ask Me Anything and a hangout, so I do want to answer any questions you guys have. Valentine's Day. Fuck Valentine's Day. It's a made-up holiday created by Big Hallmark and Big Flower. And I think Little Chocolate was in there too. Well, I may have picked a bad time to schedule this because there's not a lot of people in here. But anyone that's in here, please leave a comment. Tell me what's up with you. But I mean, I guess I could try and treat this as a podcast a little bit here. I do want to mention that I've been working on the Patreon page, and I've set up some new tiers. So if anyone feels like signing up, patreon.com/BeacomOfLight, that'd be cool. Hey, what's up? Angelie, what is going on? I find your content. Angelie says, I find your content quite intriguing, and I'm surprised you haven't blown up like other YouTubers who aren't as intriguing. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate that. That's the lay of the land, isn't it? That's the rule of this world, where not everyone that is decent does very well. But I'll get there. I'm not stopping, Angelie. I'll tell you that much. What videos in particular have you found intriguing? Let me know. I need some feedback. But I appreciate the compliment in the meantime. Social Justice Fails, what up? Thanks for sharing the video. How's it going? So Social Justice Fails, check out the page for anyone who's watching. Used some of my footage in the very popular compilations that she or she or them or they makes. Social justice, I want to make sure I don't misgender you. That's the last thing you want me to do. I know, I can tell. Hey Angelie, if you find the content intriguing, definitely share the videos, hit the like button on all that stuff. That really helps. I've got a lot of plans in the future. I don't know if any of you guys were here when I mentioned a second ago that I was going to be having a series of videos to release. We're interviewing people in the street. Now, the first video, I'm going to Harlem here in New York City to interview African Americans about their perspective on how blacks and African Americans, I don't know, are they the same? I don't know what to say anymore. Am I allowed to say, am I allowed to call black people black? I don't even know. I'm tiptoeing on eggshells all the time in this world. I'm gonna go up and get their opinions on the correspondence between blacks, African Americans, and the Trump administration, essentially. And I'm also going to go to
the West Village, Chelsea area, where it's heavily populated with people of the LGBTQAI community. AI? LGBTQIA. I don't know. It's not something that I find important to keep up with. But if it's LGBTQAI, then maybe the artificial intelligence robots are not part of that group. I am your leader. Sounds good. That was maybe not. That wasn't politically correct, but whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Jesus, this isn't live, is it? Right? I'm gonna go down there and interview members of that community and get their perspective on how Trump and the administration is treating LGBTQIA, whatever, 9+, C++, Python. And then I'm going to go around to some of the mosques and the more heavily Muslim populated areas and talk to Muslims about the same thing. So I hope you guys look forward to seeing those videos. I also want to know if any of you guys have watched my videos that I did with my friend Kayvon about what's happening in Iran. Angeli says, I enjoyed your debate on communism you had at that DACA rally. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm always trying to get to the bottom of things, and as far as communism goes, it just doesn't work. It's been tried and tested, and it always ends in tyranny and murder and genocide and famine and all sorts of things. And when you hear about it initially, I think that you might just assume it means sharing. Like, oh yeah, well, why don't we spread the wealth, spread the resources, man? And it sounds cool. The fundamental difference between sharing and communism is that communism is by force. You're forcing labor, which is why you see forced labor camps in history in communistic areas, or today in North Korea, for example. So the difference is when you ask the government to force people, it's no longer sharing. And that, I think, is a common misnomer or just misunderstanding from people advocating for communism. And with the exception of some people I've talked to that are members of refusefascism.org, which is essentially a socialist communist organization. That's ironic, isn't it? Organization. Most of these people are just anti-government in regards to authoritarianism, but they have no problem organizing. Anyway, most of the communists that I've talked to are very young, and they'll wear the hammer and sickle, and it doesn't seem like they've really had their ideas challenged. But I appreciate that. Anyone leave a comment, tell me what you are thinking. I am here for a little while. Tell me what you guys think about Valentine's Day and what sort of propaganda, covert nonsense this freaking holiday is, huh? I told you guys, it's big flowers, it's big Hallmark and their cards, okay? It's big chocolate. They're all coming down on us. They created this. There was a coup in the 1960s that took place, a coup d'etat, okay? That's French for lies, okay? And the government created Valentine's Day. I'm channeling my inner Alex Jones here. The government created this day so that the frogs would be gay, okay? It even rhymes. Valentine, why do we need an excuse to be nice to each other? Why do we need an excuse to take our significant other out for a date? A lot of these holidays have just become commercialized to the point where you just see an uptick in revenue for companies that sell chocolate flower cards and all this stuff. And it makes people that are single feel bad, which most of them shouldn't, depending on their life circumstances. And it also sort of segments when people that are in relationships should be nice to each other. And I certainly fundamentally disagree with that. I think that we don't need a certain time in February. It's fucking cold too. Like who? I don't know. Make Valentine's Day during the summer so we can be outside. I don't know. Now I'm rambling, but hit that like button if anyone is enjoying this or you enjoy the rest of my videos, and leave a comment, because this is after all an AMA. I probably should have scheduled it earlier and promoted it a bit more. To the West Coast soon. I think my connection is kind of shitty right now. Yeah, I'm going to the West Coast, particularly Nevada and California, where I will be making plenty of videos out there talking with people. Any suggestions are appreciated, anything you want to hear. I may be going to Las Vegas, so if anyone has any suggestions of the kind of craziness I should get into while I'm there, let me know. I'm wondering if I think I'll get maybe more of a mixture of opinions in regards to politics in this country in Vegas, because I think you have more people coming from the rural areas to spend their holidays there and so on. I'm also going to be doing some collaborations with some fellow YouTubers and some musicians, and I'll be excited to make you guys aware of any content that's coming out where I collaborate with other people. One collaboration I did was with Jeremy of Weekly Narrative, and I posted that video to my channel as well. We did a long form interview and kind of hangout style sort of thing like this, live stream Skype, and had a lot of fun. Got to really express my mind, express myself, and talk to Jeremy about his experiences at certain rallies. He's on the West Coast. I think he's in Sacramento, and yeah, so definitely check that out on my page. But let's see here. If anyone wants to contribute to the comments section, that would be great. Don't be shy. Angelie says you should speak to people around Berkeley. I've been in the thick of all that has gone down there. Dave Rubin will be speaking at UC Berkeley in March. Okay, yeah, that might be a good idea. Dave Rubin, oh, that tyrannical, far-right, alt-right, neo-supremacist. So if any of you guys don't know Dave Rubin, he is a gay, Jewish, liberal guy who considers himself to be a classical liberal who used to work with the Young Turks, and then he veered away from the Young Turks, created his own thing, and now he spends quite a bit of time criticizing the left because of how absurd it's gotten. And I quite admire him. I think he's, not only is he seemingly a very, very nice person, but he reminds me of me in his criticism of the left and his somewhat jovial attitude towards it as well. He doesn't seem to get frustrated, so I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, that would be cool to go see what's going on there. I wonder if he's going to be with anyone else. Do you guys know? Let's see here. You know, my eventual goal is to not cover the protests and the rallies as much. I enjoy going there like I did at the Women's March. Definitely watch those videos. I'm sure you guys have. I enjoy going there and making fun of people and having a good time and having some intellectual discussions, but sorry, I'm reading something. I enjoy having the intellectual discussions, but the rallies and protests where you have the more dangerous, I don't want to call them dangerous because they're really just mostly a bunch of kids that live in a basement somewhere or a squat. Like the Antifa types, you know, it's just you're not gonna, you know what's gonna happen. You're not gonna get anywhere. You're not gonna be able to have a conversation with them. You might get some riot porn, if you will, or just some footage of them acting like morons. But I want something new. I want to talk to people. I want to have real discussion. I want to have proper debates and actual conversations. So I'm gearing gearing closer to doing something like that rather than just riot porn. But if I do go to any of these protests and so on, it's going to be to really try and have an actual conversation. So if you show up and you're in a mask and you don't want to talk to me, I'll film you for a second, but go. Generally with those people, with the Antifa types, and I don't want to sound like a tough guy here, but I've gotten my ass kicked before. I've gotten in fights when I was younger, so I'm not necessarily afraid of fighting. But what I'd like to do it civilly, kind of like the old-fashioned way people would duel. So if you're an Antifa type of person and you're wearing your mask and you come up and you're not willing to have an intellectual debate and you want to fight, I'm not necessarily completely opposed to that. I just want it to be civil. Although there's nothing entirely civil about fist fighting. But I tell people I'll bring 2 contracts for both of us to sign. One of them, which I'd prefer that we both sign, would be to have a discussion, to have an Oxford-style debate for an hour and a half, right? Maybe 2 hours. We'll go back and forth. We'll have a moderator. You sign here. We'll broadcast all of it unedited. That's what I'd hope for you to sign. Or here's this other one. We can take the primitive road and we fight 3 rounds, MMA style, in a cage. Could be kind of fun. Some of these, there's this one video, there's a couple of videos that I made in Boston at the first free speech rally where there's an Antifa member. He probably wasn't even a legal adult. That's how young and twink-like and pathetic this kid was. But you go watch my videos in Boston the first time I went up there. There's this one kid who looks like he did not take his medicine, and all you can see are his eyes. And he probably weighs about 110 pounds. And this guy's running around with a stick, like whacking people. And I would just feel bad if there was actually a civil war between these types of people. And then, you have most of the military and the cops that are on the side of the right, that are anti-Antifa type people, and they're pro-Second Amendment, and it would really just be a massacre and a slaughter, and it's not something I'd want to see. Talking to each other is what needs to be done. What's up, Jeff? My name's Jeff. What did I just join? You tell me, buddy. You tell me. What is this, huh? This is a Valentine's Day. You guys are my date right now. You guys are my Valentines, all of you. I'm going to court you now, okay? I'm going to ask your moms if I can take you out because I'm a gentleman. That's what's going to happen, okay? I'm going to put a corsage on your person. More talking. What's up? Yeah, Jeremy. Everyone, Weekly Narrative is here. Make sure to go check out his channel as well. More talking, less fighting. That's right. That's absolutely right. But I was just telling everyone, Jeremy, and you're included in this, you're all my dates now, okay? So we're going to have a nice fondue together. Some chocolat. I'm talking the movie and the food, okay? And we're not going Hershey's. We're not doing shitty American stuff. I'm a Godiva girl, okay? We're doing Swiss. We're doing German, okay? We're doing Belgian. If you treat me nice, you might get some Belgian. Something from Antwerp. You ever been to Antwerp? Neither have I. Probably will never go. Whatever. Hear the chocolate's good. I'm gonna court you. Jeff says, what's your goal for sub count? More than what I have now, definitely. No, I'd like to break 6 figures within a year. That's my goal, man. So 6 figures, 100 thou. I have a lot more work to do though. I got to get out there and make some good material, but it can be a little bit difficult when I'm working for myself. It's just me. I'm editing everything. I have another job that I have to do, of course, until this can be full time. I could use some extra equipment. I'd like to get a better camera. I'd like to do all this stuff. and that obviously requires some extra funds. But I would do this for free for the rest of my life. I really would. I love going out there and talking to people. I was doing that anyway before I even started filming any of this stuff. So if I can make money doing what I love, then I'll never work a day in my life, as the saying goes. But I have been working on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BeacomOfLight. So if any of you guys are willing to sign up, even just $1 a month or whatever the thing is, that would really help. But you guys are awesome. Yeah, leave some comments. Tell me what is going on with y'all. And this is supposed to be an AMA where I want to talk to you guys, so I didn't really prepare too much to talk about. This is all kind of just random podcast style. But if you have any song requests, let me know. What is that? Surf. That's that whole surf thing. I used to know the name of the band who did that, man. That bothers me. Dick Dale. Dale? Was his name Dick Dale? Is that a person? Yeah, Dick Dale. Yeah, surf rock guitarist. So Jeff says, who is my favorite non-political YouTuber? It depends on what you mean by non-political. No politics at all. I mean, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, but they talk about everything on his show. But I wouldn't consider him specifically to be political. He's a host and likes to talk about a bunch of stuff, an interviewer. Best non-political YouTuber. So this is going to sound pretty lame considering he's the most popular YouTuber in the world, but I actually think PewDiePie is quite funny. I enjoy his videos as of late because they're super weird, and his editor is awesome, and they just make weird random videos and they comment on random stuff. So I actually do like PewDiePie's content, even though it's quite silly. Comedy YouTuber. You know what? I'm gonna look through my list. So I like the Fighter and the Kid podcast. I was actually listening to Chris D'Elia, who I think is pretty funny, on the Fighter and the Kid podcast earlier today. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think the hosts of that show, Brian Callen, who is a stand-up comedian and actor, and Brendan Schaub, who is a former UFC fighter, I think they have really funny chemistry. So they're really good. Let's see here. I like Theo Vaughn, who's a stand-up comic. He has a podcast. He's really funny. He's like the southern dude from Louisiana. His Netflix special is hysterical. He's like not PC, just says what's on his mind and does it really, really funnily. Is that a word, funnily? I've got so many political and journalistic channels that I'm subscribed to. I would say those, to name a few. I like a lot of stand-up comedy, but I don't really watch stand-up comedy on YouTube. Netflix has it. I also live in New York, so I get to go to comedy clubs all the time, which is pretty fun. I've also been testing the waters of stand-up comedy on myself recently, and I found that I quite enjoy it. What about Louis C.K.? I've thought Louis C.K. was hysterical for a long time. Obviously, it sucks that he started, murking his gherkin, whatever that means, in front of people. Gherkins are tiny pickles, and a merkin is a toupee for your private parts. But yeah, Louis C.K., before he started murking his gherkin, was hysterical. And he's probably still hysterical. What he did was just weird and offensive. I don't know if it was against the law. Probably, like, if you're exposing yourself in front of people that you don't get permission from. No, that's definitely illegal now that I think about it. Okay, I'm going to write that down. But anyway, yeah, Louis C.K.'s awesome. It's unfortunate that he had to tarnish his career that way. Other stand-up comics that I like Bill Burr quite a bit. I actually, as much as I don't like the politics of The Daily Show, I think Trevor Noah's stand-up comedy is really funny. I like George Carlin from back in the day. Dave Chappelle has been awesome recently. I'd have to go down a whole list. So what's up, everyone that's in here? Leave a comment. This is an AMA and Ask Me Anything. I want to answer your freaking questions because you've got some great questions. They're all smart and intellectual and profound. You guys, all of you watching, you're basically like Plato and Socrates times 10 multiplied. You guys are like Plato on steroids. Opinions on Black History Month. Well, where do I start? Black history exists. It is real. I mean, the reason why there's been a month designated for Black history is because it's not a great history in this country, unfortunately, and it is important that we recognize that and say, let's not ever have segregation or slavery again, anywhere. So I think it's just as important to look at and criticize slavery in the past as it is to recognize that we also are the first country in the world, essentially, to abolish it. Pretty damn good place to live, with all its faults, here in America. So what do I say about Black History Month? I guess one concern that I have is that there are politicians that politicize it and capitalize on the identity politics of it. And a lot of these politicians, they don't give a shit about black people. They don't care. They don't actually want to help impoverished communities. They want more votes. So when you hear Tom Sowell, or you hear Larry Elder, or you hear Tommy Sotomayor, or some of these black right-wingers, or more conservatives, I should say, conservative people speak, you really get that you get a more eye-opening perspective on how race is politicized, if you will. So, if you guys don't know Thomas Sowell, definitely check him out. He's an economist and scholar. He's up there in age now. I just looked him up. He's 87, but some of his quotes, just so you know, are one of them being, "Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it." Another quote, "It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance." He wrote a book called Black Rednecks and White Liberals, which I've yet to read, but I've heard really great things about how in that he touches on the racial divide and how it coincides with the political divide in this country as well. Various aspects of race and culture in the U.S. and abroad. But it's supposed to be fantastic. So what is up, y'all? What is going on? Give me some feedback here. Jeff, where are you, Jeff? Where in the country are you? What is up, Rhode Island? Any music shows you were planning on going to? So there's a band called Animals as Leaders that I really like. I definitely check them out if you guys can. I don't know if I like hard rock and progressive rock and some metal, but Animals as Leaders are rad. They are a three-piece band, and they're two guitar players and one drummer. And their drummer's awesome. The drummer's name is Matt Gardska. He's like 3 years younger than me, and he's freaking amazing. And I only bring up that he's younger than me because I play drums a little bit, and he's obviously on a whole nother level. They're like Berklee music graduates. And the two guitar players both play 8-string guitars. And so one of them can do a more bass-oriented, more bass-oriented riff, and then the other guy can do solos. And the lead guitar player, Tosin, his name is. Speaking of Black History Month, this guy's easily the best black progressive metal player in music. He's played with Steve Vai and some really incredible guitar players live and all this stuff. But they're an instrumental band. There's no vocals, and they're a lot of fun to me. They're not everyone's cup of tea. I played them for a buddy of mine, and he wasn't having it. But if they come to New York, I'll definitely go to see them. So to be honest, I'm not a big fan of live music in the festival type situation where there's thousands of people like stacked on top of each other, and it's $50 for a water, and like someone's peeing on you, and like some teenager on ecstasy is trying to hump your leg. It's just not my thing. I'd rather, the older I get, the closer to 30 I get, the more I want to just sit. Yeah. What about you? What kind of music do you guys like? So definitely become a patron at patreon.com/BeacomOfLight if you guys can. But otherwise, hit the thumbs up button, leave a like, share the videos, and leave suggestions in the comments section. But this is an AMA, so I want to talk to you guys about what you want to see from the channel, what you've enjoyed. Clearly, the niche of my channel is to go out and talk to people and get those on the street, man on street style reporting and conversation and making fun of people. I really enjoy doing that. Probably more than actual conversations in some ways. So that's what you guys are into, and I definitely plan on bringing more of that. And I should mention that I am going out to the West Coast next month, and I might even do a live event with Weekly Narrative out there. That would be cool. But I'll be interviewing people in places like Las Vegas and San Francisco and all these other spots. What is up, y'all? Leave a comment. Tell me what is good. Rage Against the Machine, yeah, cool, man. I like Rage. Let's see if I can play that. Yeah, Rage is good, man. I wish they were still touring. I'd definitely go see them. You hate me. What is going on? Tell me what is up. This isn't Ask Me Anything. Give me some questions. Foo Fighters, okay. That one up. Yeah, Las Vegas will give me some very good content. I don't know how many people I'm going to get there willing to engage in like a deep political discussion where we talk about tax reform. I don't know that I'm going to want to do that necessarily if I'm on Fremont Street drinking a brew, but or especially once I start taking all the money from people at the poker tables, because that's how Vegas works. You go there and you win lots of money. I don't know if that's the first thing I'll want to do is go out and be like, hey, what do you guys think about DACA? You guys want to talk about DACA? Fellow poker player, yeah. What's up, Walter White? Fellow poker player, yeah. I try not to play too much, but I like Texas Hold'em. It's pretty fun. What is up? Listen to the Between the Buried and Me. So I had a buddy who was really into that sort of. I don't know what genre. I know they're kind of like a metal, but like, they're kind of like a thrashy kind of. I don't want to call it speed metal, but they're like what's the word I'm looking for? To answer your question, yes, they're kind of like scream. I don't want to call them screamo because I think they're better than that than that category. But yeah, maybe they're a little bit like the Dillinger Escape Plan, Between the Buried and Me. But yeah, I'm definitely a pretty big metal fan. I like more of the melodic stuff. I've been listening to Gojira a lot recently. I don't know if you guys know Gojira. It's like the Japanese word for Godzilla. Gojira. But man, they're just crazy good. They don't exactly play the most difficult musical compositions, but they play a lot of speed, a lot of like the tremolo, this thing. Kind of like the Dick Dale theme, the surfing Dick Dale. But, so a lot of tremolo, and their drummer's pretty nasty. He does a lot of double bass. Really, really good. Gojira's good. I used to listen to the Deftones when I was younger quite a bit. I grew up listening to like Tool and Primus and the Deftones and some 311 a little bit. For some reason, every time I tell people I used to listen to 311, I'm slightly ashamed because they're kind of like stoner, adolescent stoner skater music. But I actually really liked their first album. Music was awesome. Wasn't it? I can't remember. Yep, listen to System of a Down. It's not going to be easy to play on the acoustic guitar, but I'll give it a try. And now I just tuned my guitar up, and that song is in drop D, but something like that. Yeah, 311. Yeah, 311 used to be really good. Their first album, Music, is definitely awesome. I'm sure some of the harder songs don't sound that great on the acoustic, but I used to listen to a lot of Incubus. They were my go-to back in the day. I could probably play more Incubus songs on guitar than any other band. Jeff says my uncle is a professional guitarist and he played with Nonpoint in Europe. I haven't heard of Nonpoint. What is that? I'll have to check them out. Nonpoint. Yeah, you know, with music, for me, it's like, I don't know, it's like I just have a hard time deviating from some of the bands I've been listening to for so long. So I'll still listen to Tool and like Animals as leaders in Gojira have basically been my two main additions, like that I've listened to regularly for the past year or so. But I really like Medeski, Martin, and Wood. They're a really good trio. I've seen them live a couple times. They're an instrumental, kind of experimental jazz trio. Really, really good. Medeski, Martin, and Wood. Definitely check them out. I think they've done 2 albums with a guitar player named John Schofield, who I actually got to meet once here in New York. Really nice guy. Yeah, check them out. Incubus and 311 bring back memories. Yeah, nice, man. A certain shade of green. Tell me, is that what? I'm not a good singer. I'll learn. Anything from the 70s? Yeah, I mean, I can play a little Led Zeppelin. It's a lot more fun to play on the electric. Let's see. Did I hear the Claypool Lennon Delirium stuff? No, with Les Claypool from Primus and Sean Lennon. No, I heard of it. I've heard of it, and I know that they were playing together, but I haven't heard it. I actually like Sean Lennon's band, The Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger. They're kind of like gypsy rock stuff. They're pretty good. Jeff asks if I listen to Slipknot. I've heard many of their songs, but the face masks and stuff always just bothered me, man. I couldn't get into it, unfortunately. Just all that nu metal stuff with the clown masks, or just, you know, when people would dress up, it would just kind of bother me. There was something gimmicky about it where, you know, and the band members of Slipknot are talented people. There's no denying that. Like the drummer Joey Jordison, great drummer. I guess I don't know. I know it's supposed to be kind of like a show and a spectacle and so on, but that always turned me off back in the day. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, let me know. Make sure to subscribe and like all of my videos. Go through each one of them and like them individually. Damn it. Donate through paypal.me/BeacomOfLight or patreon.com/BeacomOfLight and become a patron. Just finished setting that up a little bit, and that's pretty exciting. But let's see here. So I I need some recommendations for video and audio equipment from any of you guys. I know this isn't super exciting to talk about, but if you guys can recommend any DSLR cameras, I'm in the market eventually to buy one of those so I can really make some higher quality content for you guys. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I need. Just a 3-point lighting kit, some sound stuff. So Walter White says, I'm guessing I know your stance on the drug war, but I'll ask anyways. On the drug war, I guess you'd have to elaborate a little bit on the drug war. If you mean the same kind of drug war that we've been fighting we're supposedly fighting since the 80s with Ronald Reagan. I'm certainly opposed to illegal trafficking of drugs across borders. I think the cartel in Mexico just obviously blatantly ruin people's lives, and it affects our economy and the lives of our citizens here as well. The way the cartel is involved in trafficking people across the borders is harsh and disgusting. And you hear about drug mules doubling as coyotes, people that are paid to traffic people across the border, and how the statistic that even Huffington Post reported on, so it's got to be legit, that 80% of women crossing the border illegally are raped by these coyotes. So it's all, the federales are largely corrupt in Mexico. It's a downward spiral that can only get better by the centralized Mexican government deciding to change their infrastructure and economy from within. But this country can't be expected to fix all of Mexico's problems, that's for sure. But as far as drugs go, I'm for legalization of marijuana for the most part. I'm devastatedly concerned. Well, I shouldn't say devastatedly concerned, but there's a lot to be concerned about in this world. But something that's very concerning is the opioid epidemic that's happening in this country. I mean, I don't know if it's is it 600 people a day or more than that? 600 people a day are dying from opiates. So that includes heroin, but it's not limited to illegal drugs. In fact, a lot of these people are on, what is it called? Not OxyContin. Some of them are on OxyContin, but then there's man, I'm blanking. Starts with a P. Fentanyl. There you go. Starts with an F. Whatever. I don't know how they spell it. But it's terrifying. And meanwhile, you'll get a ticket if you're caught smoking weed in Kentucky, if not worse than that. What's going on here? So there needs to clearly be some serious reform. And one thing that's ultra ironic, I mean, we're just talking about uber ironic here, is that there are so many people addicted to opioids, legal opioids like fentanyl and OxyContin and oxycodone. And there is a drug called ibogaine, which comes from Africa, and I think it's a root bark that people drink, and it's got an 80 to 90% success rate for people dealing with opiate withdrawals. That's illegal here. I don't know if it's class B or C or however they rank it, but it's highly illegal here, and I believe it's felonious, like it's a felony crime or something if you possess this stuff, and it's shown to have essentially zero side effects on people's well-being. It's not bad for you to take this stuff, and it's shown to have an 80 to 90% success rate of getting people off of opioids and helping with withdrawals. We live in a weird country, man. We live in a weird place, dude. Weird place. Ibogaine. There's also, I don't know if ayahuasca is one of the psychedelics that helps with that stuff, but it's a weird country, man. And if you ever listen to Joe Rogan, you'll hear him talk about how marijuana is illegal in this country essentially because of the hemp industry. And I think it was William Randolph Hearst or one of those old billionaire bureaucrat guys who saw that hemp, which comes from the marijuana plant, was being utilized as a really good form of stationery for paper, right? And that was going to put his paper, don't quote me here, look this up and I'll look it up too, but that was going to put his paper business at risk. So he lobbied, I can't remember how exactly it happened, but basically by bureaucratic red tape or just lots of power and whatnot, managed to illegalize. I think he put people in a hysteria that marijuana, that blacks people were smoking marijuana and going crazy, or just people were smoking marijuana and going crazy, and they were becoming more violent. You can watch a movie called Reefer Madness about this stuff from back in the day. It's hysterical, literally, and he got them to outlaw marijuana, the marijuana plant. Really just a crazy story. I wish I knew the exact details. I don't want anyone to misquote me here, but it's just shitty, man. But Walter White asks about decriminalization, giving the person help instead of turning small drug possession into criminals. 100%, man. We need reform when it comes to the penal system that criminalizes non-violent drug offenders. It's disgusting. It's horrible. I think something like, again, don't quote me, but last time I heard, somewhere up to 1/3, maybe 1/5 or something like that, just a pretty staggering number of people in our prison system right now are there for non-violent drug offenses with no priors of violence or no past history. It's disgusting. So if you want to talk about institutional oppression, and I may even go as far to say as institutional racism, that is where you might find some of it. Now, we don't have a law or anything that discriminates against blacks, but you'd be damn remiss if there weren't judges in this country that do make decisions based on race. So maybe you couldn't call it institutional racism, but you're certainly going to have a lot of racism within the institutions. That's a very specific distinction there. We've got some ridiculous drug laws, bro. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So my name is Jeff. Asks, I'm curious if there was a turning point for your view on religion and God. For me, it was 16 as I began to think more for myself. No turning point other than that I became aware of not believing in something. I wasn't raised religiously. I wasn't, I just wasn't taught about it, man. I wasn't even taught about race until the schools taught me about that, So these are all things that are learned in many respects. But as far as religion goes, no, I never had a real turning point. I definitely listened to bands like Tool where Maynard, the lead singer, would talk about Jesus and religiosity and kind of painted it in a negative light. And then I read a book called Breaking Open the Head, A Journey into the Heart of Contemporary Shamanism by this guy named Daniel Pinchbeck, where he talks about psychedelics and their effect on your psychology and philosophy and so on. And from there, I started, from listening to Tool, where they quote people like Bill Hicks and Timothy Leary, and reading that book by Daniel Pinchbeck, I then started doing a lot of research. I don't want to act like I was getting a degree in anything, but I started becoming really interested in psychedelics. I never really took that many. I took mushrooms once. That was awesome. But I started thinking more about existentialism and what happens when you die and the concept of God and so on, because of music sort of catapulting me into this whole... In fact, I went on a YouTube rabbit hole for a while where I was watching a lot of videos with people like... what's the guy's name? I read his book too, Food of the Gods, Terence McKenna. Terence McKenna has something called the stoned ape theory, which is that in Africa, as our right before our brains sort of doubled in size, I think it was, over a very short evolutionary time span, there were a lot of cow patties that had psilocybin mushrooms growing on them. And his theory was that our brains capacity increased after our ancestors in Africa started eating mushrooms and so on. And that might even be when we discovered the notion of the ego, and that might have been the first inklings of language being created and so on, or maybe sort of fast-tracked our learning abilities, which is really a really cool a cool theory in general. But yeah, Terence McKenna was cool. But then from there, I heard of Richard Dawkins. So I started learning a little bit about evolution. Then I started listening to Richard Dawkins, who was an evolutionary biologist, and he also happened to talk quite often about religion. Of course, he was one of the four horsemen, along with Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris. That's when I was introduced to, after reading Dawkins quite a bit and researching him, is when I started listening to people like Sam Harris, or more particularly before Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens. I actually still haven't finished it, but I've read most of his book, God Is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, and I watched a lot of debates, so many debates between him and people like Dennis Prager, who I actually agree with a lot on certain conservative political policies, but he just gets slaughtered in these debates about religion with people like Christopher Hitchens, and Hitchens would debate all sorts of religious figures and just, in my opinion, just kind of slaughter them. And then Christopher Hitchens, then I started listening more to Sam Harris, especially after Hitchens died. I think that was 2012 when he died, or 2009, don't quote me. But yeah, to answer your question, no real breakthrough moment necessarily. When it comes to debating people about religion or just discussing it with religious people, what I always see is that the argument will essentially end in two ways from that of the religious person. It'll end in asking me to make Pascal's wager. And Pascal's wager is when you claim to not know what happens when you die, that because you're still leaving a possibility of there being an afterlife, you might as well choose to believe while you're alive, so that way if there is an afterlife, then you're going to heaven. Well, that's cruel in my eyes, and I don't want to worship a God that makes me take a chance on whether he exists or not. Some would call that faith, to disguise irrational belief in a fancy bow and hand it to you. That's obviously how they were getting people to convert back in the day when we knew a lot less about the world. So it either ends in Pascal's wager or it ends in the God of the Gaps argument, which is where a religious person will say, we don't know what happens before the Big Bang. And they'll say, do you know what happened before the Big Bang? Well, there must have been a creator. And that's kind of their explanation, which is not irrational. I don't claim to know. I don't claim to know what the deal is. And I'm okay with that. And I think that this whole existence is kind of a big paradox in a sense, where one could easily argue that not knowing why we're here kind of is knowing. If you're able to address the fact that you don't know something, well, in a infinitely regressive line of questioning, that is kind of knowing. Jeff says agnostic then. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, but I also don't discount the possibility. So there's actually two definitions of atheism. There's kind of more like an agnostic, which is what I'm closer to, but I have no problem calling myself an atheist. And then there's a hardcore atheist, that claim the second definition of there not being a God. I can't say that there is one. I haven't died yet, luckily. So Walter White says, I'd love to see your stand-up sets on YouTube. Yeah, man, I will be getting there. So I'm going to be doing a lot of stand-up comedy on the West Coast when I go out that way, and I'm going to be filming a lot of my sets. I have a lot of writing to do, and obviously I've got this channel to focus on. So, it's tough to try and do all these things at once. But once I start bringing in some revenue from the channel and can afford to do these things full time, I'll have way more time to devote to doing stand-up comedy and writing the sets, and not having to do the menial job I do now to pay the basic bills. Yeah, Daniel Pinchback. There you go. He hate me. Hey man, every time you're in here, you're always saying some great stuff in the comments section. Dr. Stranger says, when you were in Catalonia, did you get to see what was under Tim Pool's beanie? No. That's actually, so I tried to take it off one time, and it's actually part of his body. So he actually grows those things like a snake or a lizard, right? So I don't know what's under there. They grow, and once it's dried out, he sheds that one, and a new one grows in its place. So that's sort of how that works. He's actually on the evolutionary, the tree of life, on a different branch than the rest of us. No. Man, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't done that already. And let me know what you guys would want to see from me. Like if you have any suggestions of where in the world you want me to go, what sort of questions you want me to ask from people, please let me know. I need all of it. Jeff says, remember us when you get 100,000 subs. I will, and I'm going to immortalize you guys, okay? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to march right down to Washington, D.C., okay? I'm going to kick over that stupid Vietnam Veterans Wall or the World War II wall, whatever it is, with all those guys' names. I'm going to kick that right over. You know what I'm going to put in its place? Your name. Your name and your comments on YouTube. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. What is up, y'all? That's going to be taken out of context. Take it. So what's, Montreal? You'd love to see me in Montreal at one of Montreal counter-information meetings or rallies. Elaborate on that. First of all, are you from Montreal? Bonjour, Montreal. Oui, oui. What site are you talking about? Sweet home Montreal. Bonjour, bonjour. Montreal counterinformation dot whatever. That's my favorite. Like to see me in Montreal? That's cool. I'd go back to Montreal. So I don't know if you guys know this. I was in Montreal last year, and when I was there, I met up with Lauren Southern for a bit, and she's Canadian, as you guys probably know, and she was telling me about the migrant. There was a large influx of Haitian migrants coming from the U.S. going into Canada because I think it was a 10-year allowance, 10, 12, 13, 14-year allowance for Haitians to come to seek refuge in the United States after the big earthquake in Haiti back in the day. So we went up there and explored that. That was interesting. Come to Rhode Island first. Let me know any comedy clubs that are in Rhode Island, man. My plan eventually is to start traveling and doing stand-up. So if I put any of my stand-up online, if you guys can share that would be so awesome. But yeah, what I really like is making the documentary style stuff. You know, where I go out and really talk to people on the street. I love that so much. Going and doing interviews, bringing interesting stories with a little bit of a sense of humor as well. But the stand-up is going to be relatively separate, and I want to have multiple irons and multiple fires. You know, and my fail-safe for all of it will just be to take this bad boy and go. I guess begging. Speaking of begging, become a patron. Patreon.com/BeacomOfLight. PayPal.me/BeacomOfLight. But the Canadian Antifa, do they apologize often? Oh, you know, we just don't like Nazis, eh? Sorry. We just don't like Nazis, eh? Oh, but they're from Montreal, so they're like, my friend is George St. Pierre. It's okay, man. I don't know what to say. It's I can't even do that accent. I just sound like an idiot. Yeah. Alright guys, well, I think I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been freaking awesome once again. I do want to mention before I get out of here that I have some videos coming out. So definitely, if you want to learn a little bit about Iran, the Middle East, Persian history, you will not be disappointed with the dense output of fantastic information from my friend and person I interviewed recently. I posted a bunch of videos to my page. Many of you have probably watched them already. My friend Kayvon Afshari, fantastically informative and enlightening group of videos that I've put out that are clips of the full interview. So definitely go leave a like on that, because that would make me really happy, and I want him to see your support because he really deserves it. I mean, he provided me with some really great material for my channel, and I really didn't have much to do with it. So thanks to him as well. So definitely go check those out. Some videos I have coming up. I just filmed something today, just doing a direct message talking about what happened in North Korea, or in South Korea. Something so trivial, but I figured I'd address it because it kind of shows how ridiculous the leftist mainstream media can be, like CNN, where they're essentially making Kim Jong-un's sister this feminist, anti-patriarchal, you know, fuck you Mike Pence sort of woman, when she happens to be the director of propaganda for a communist hellhole, and they're trying to make her, they're going to put her on the cover of Elle magazine or some shit. It's unbelievable. So I was talking about that a little bit. I was also talking about the World Government Forum, I think it was called. So there was an event that took place in World Leaders, what was it? It is the World Government Summit that took place in Dubai over this weekend. And like Elon Musk had gone to this thing last year. This year I think Michio Kaku was there, really great physicist who's written some really cool books and has had a couple of TV shows. There were many people there talking about AI and the role it will play in the future. So I touch on that a little bit in my latest video, and I also talk about Valentine's Day, which is just a stupid holiday. And it's not that I'm bitter because I don't have a Valentine. It's not that. Okay? It's not that. You know, I could get one if I wanted to. I'll just go and get one. Okay? There's an old lady that works at the store there. I'm just gonna go and get her. Anyway, so keep an eye out for that video. And like I mentioned previously, I'm going to be going up to Harlem. I'm going to go to interview African Americans, get their opinions. Stay tuned for those videos. I'm going to go to the neighborhood of Chelsea in the West Village down in New York, which is heavily LGBT and whatever, AI, Q, and sometimes Y, and get their opinions on the administration and policies regarding their community, if you will. And I'll be interviewing Muslims as well. I'm going to go to some mosques, and that might get pretty intense. You know, I think I'll have a pretty good time with the LGBT people. You know, I don't mind the pageantry of it. Yeah, so keep an eye out for those videos. Lots of traveling. I'm going to Lawrence Livermore Labs at some point out in San Francisco, and I'm excited about that. It's a defense lab, but I can't talk about the dates. There's a lot of information I can't express right now. So definitely check that out. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hate to plug this over and over again. I know it's annoying, but patreon.com/BeacomOfLight. Become a patron. Become a soldier in my army, if you will. PayPal.me/BeacomOfLight. Anything helps. Most importantly, the fact that you guys are here watching, and you can tell when people are full of shit. I know you guys can. And I mean this. The fact that you guys are watching right now means a lot to me. And we're not alone in this world. Guys, Beacom of Light, Taylor, up in this, signing off. Have a good one, guys.